Houston, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to Alien Addict on this fine and mysterious evening. Because it is a mysterious evening, because we have none other than the man himself, Manny from Area 503, the man who did the beautiful documentary, Who is Lue? Or just who's plain old Who's Lue? Good evening,
Who's
Manny.
Lou? Who's Lou? Hi, Ollie. Thanks for
Oh,
having
Phil,
me today.
wait a sec. We've left somebody. I forgot him. There he is. There he is.
Hey, what are you guys up to?
I feel like we should pop you there, Rich. And
Oh.
Manny's
this way.
I feel like I'm on the hot seat. I'm like, okay, all right, let's do it.
I'm going to do that.
Oh.
I'm going to do that. Yeah, right there.
Why this way? I'm just glad to be here.
Clowns to the left of me.
Joker's to the right.
Yeah, I could look this way. That looks about right. And go there. What's up, Manny?
Joke's to the right. Isn't that right? Oh, go away, Stephen.
Social distancing.
He is. Oh, that's nothing to do with the C that won the 9. That's just, he was a doctor, wasn't he?
He was an emergency room doctor.
Yeah, I'm sure he wore plenty of those.
He saved people from their steering wheels columns going through their chests and stuff like that. Hello?
Good old Mr. Dr. Gray. Sorry, not Mr. Manny. Welcome back to Alien Addict. You've been on a few times, but you've been a busy man. You've been a busy beaver. And that busyness almost didn't pay off, because Who's Lou vanished from the internet. Oh, well, not the entire internet, because there's ways and means and other channels, but YouTube, the main platform that you put it out from, it was gaining some traction. And I believe, was it 2 days in the Who's Lou documentary, you got the strikes and it disappeared completely. They took that down.
Yeah, so when Who's Lou launched, it did really great. The premiere was capped at my YouTube cap of 150 people at about, 20 minutes into the show, and just stayed there, because my channel's so small. YouTube only lets you have so many people and then stops promoting you. But it was great. And I think I got about 1,000 views a day for the first 4 days that it was up. It was picking up steam. It was starting to grow. It was going everywhere. It was going out onto Reddit. It was on Facebook. Everyone was talking about it. And yeah, then this person who I call the YouTube drama channel decided to abuse YouTube's copyright systems and file a false DMCA complaint against me and take it down, knowing full well, maybe this person didn't know when they did it, but I knew that they weren't going to be able to keep it offline the whole time, and that they were just going to drag it out the full 10 to 14 business days that YouTube lets you do that. And so it's important that people understand that that's what really happened, because this person was out there screaming the whole time, "I've taken this movie down," up until the night before it came back online. They were, tooting their own horn, saying that they had done some great service by squishing this program. But I think in the long run, when people look at the situation, they're going to say that person actually helped promote the project and make it bigger by their actions. So in a way, I kind of owe them some thanks. But thanks for promoting my project, dude. I really appreciate that. Even though this person hated it, they really did make it bigger, and now it's back on YouTube. So like I said, when this happened, and to Lou himself, I've said, "Lou, you can run away from this conversation, but you can't hide." So all that they did was kick it down the road a few weeks and stall it on YouTube. But the conversation was still going. It was still up on Odyssey, where I think it received 1,400 or 1,500 views in that time, which was nothing compared to what it was getting on YouTube. But those views were people who wanted to see this film and want that information. It's not the casual ufologist who's going to look at it and say, this doesn't sync with what I've been told in the media and UFO Twitter for the last few years. These are people who are opinion makers in our field. These are people like you and I who watch this, content creators, people who want that information and are going to use it for their, to spread it for their own story or for their own, for their own story that they're trying to tell. Like I told Who's Lou. Somebody else is going to take some research and tell a different part of it. So yeah, the cat's kind of out of the bag on that, and it's back on YouTube, and I'm glad that it is. I think it'll.
It's in the
stay
description,
stable on
people.
YouTube.
In the description. It is
Yeah,
in the
so
description.
give it a watch.
Go check it out.
Yeah, even if you've already seen it, go watch it again because it'll help give it that traction back with the algorithm that this person stole. And when you say that somebody stole it, you're right. Ollie, I put a half a year of my life into this project, and somebody abused a YouTube system in a way that is not very. One, it's against the policies. Two, it's illegal because it's against the DMC, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And three, it's against all of our YouTube norms.
When you say somebody, have you spoke about this person who it actually was that did it?
Well, I've posted their, I'll just name him once to clear the air because I'm not going to be like Lou, but I don't like to say the name because that's exactly what this person wants is to ride the cloud of people that are out there doing work while he's just sitting in his house nitpicking people, kind of like other channels we've seen over the years. Tom Fessler, you're a ninny. You're a weak person. And that's the person who did this. And everybody has seen it, not just in our community, but outside of our community. People in YouTube, people in the mainstream media have seen it and seen what the guy did. And, there's going to be people are going to want to know why he did that at some point, and they're not going to believe his little story that it's okay to do things to someone because he thinks that they did it to Lou or something like that. It's really weird. Like what we have here is a situation where I confronted Lou about his story in my film because he would never answer me. Like Rich has tried to talk to Lou for years and called him a BSer from day one, as I have as well, and other
he's
people.
Trying to fight him now. He's not just trying to talk to him. He's trying to fight him.
Well, yeah, he's as frustrated as I am, man. We've been asking these questions for a very, very long time, and the response that we've gotten is we're ignored from Lou. Meanwhile, he turns a blind eye to these fans of his that do the most atrocious things in his name, and he doesn't distance himself. He doesn't say, "Hey, don't do that. Quit bullying these people." If you'll notice, when trolls come into my chats, I tell them, my moderators, to leave them. I say, let them, as long as they're not being directly abusive, leave them. It's not
same.
a big deal. Yeah, we got thick skin. We're on the damned internet, man. We're not a bunch of, ninnies who have to have 12 people tell us that our worldview is correct in order to believe it. Like if any artist who creates something and puts it out there for the world to look at has to be ready for someone to say their work sucks, or that they hate it or whatever. And all of us are. Rich gets so much crap. I get crap. Ollie, I'm sure you get crap from people too. Everybody who puts themselves out there runs that risk. And you got to have some cojones, you got to have some balls to do that, some backbone to put yourself out there and subject yourself to that risk. And some people just, they can't handle it. And I'm saying to those people, get off the internet. Go hide in your little corner of the world where you show your work to two people and they go, yay, you made something great. But in the real world, people are going to disagree. There's 8 billion people on the planet. We're not all going to see things the same way.
Well, Manny, I will say on that note about myself getting shit for this. I don't pick a side. I have opinions, and I don't know what Alien Addict is. It's like a bit of a gossip, bit of drama. I will get both sides on. I would love to get one where we get, the UFO split room, and we have a civil conversation, because I think that would be great. I really do, because there'll be maybe a couple of little arguments in there, but we'll just calm them down, But Rich and Manny, you thanked Rich at the end of Who's Lou for sticking to his guns all the way through this. I mean, Rich, I think you've had the opinion of who Lou is since I remember speaking to you. Because even myself, I used to argue with you a little bit and said, how do you know this? And you'd say, I just know it. He's not proven anything. He's not given us anything. And you've stuck by that. And I respect you for that. I myself, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for something to happen.
Keep waiting.
Why do you think these attacks on Manny and yourself are happening? Why do you think people get so get the knickers in such a twist because you disagree with something that's been said? Do you think it's because they think that you're spoiling disclosure, that you're trying to put some pricks in it?
As much as I try to understand the way they think, it's impossible to understand how they think. To me, it is very confusing how they are doing. They're hypocrites. They're doing everything that they're saying I did that I never did. They are hating the fact that, my channel is supported by all my fans and people who watch. They hate that when I get super chats. They hate when I have a good time. They hate when we make jokes. They do not like successful, happy people. And if they don't like me, change the channel. What is it? What do they care? What is it their business? I'm not talking about them. So I think it's this, I am going to be the person who takes down GUFON. And I am going to be powerful and all-knowing, and everybody will love me for it. But it's kind of backfired. And people see it as a shameless act, a cowardly act. I've invited the fools on my show to talk things over, and they just talk on their show, make memes about me or Manny and all of us, call us racist pedophiles, things that I wouldn't dream of calling these people on a live show, and telling their fans to go attack, go flag the channel every single day, no matter what. I mean, that goes against YouTube's community policy. He should be gone for it. I can't tell you how frustrating it is on this side that YouTube won't listen to us, but they're able to falsely strike us and attempt to shut us down and keep us quiet. I just say change the channel, Fruit Cup. That's all you got to do. I hate them. I hate them with every fiber in my being, and I am on a mission to make sure they feel what I feel.
Your channel's still on 3 strikes?
It's in limbo. I'm taking them to court, and if they don't respond within 10 to 14 business days, those strikes are gone, and the channel gets reinstated. And a win for me. So I hope they take me to court. I'll wipe the floor with them. I was given permission. Me and Darcy were friends because he's the fool that striked me. Dicey weirdo. Dirty Darcy. He's a rat bastard. He goes behind my back to try to get Cousins Brothers in trouble with 1091 Productions. And by showing the guy, whoever it is that helps get them, gets their movies in there, shows them personal emails between me and Tyler about Darcy. And Tyler shared our private shit with Darcy, which really started it all. And because of Tyler, which I think he's doing this all behind the scenes, always wanted to take me down. Now I'm coming after you. YouTube's going to know. That's what they're doing, and they don't like me for whatever reason. And again, hypocritical shit. Darcy tells me, do not speak my name out of your mouth again, right? Then he goes and talks about me on Facebook, and then goes on Dave Scott's show and rips me and Third Phase of Moon a new one. And I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm just supposed to sit there and take it like he does. Oh, I meant that another way. So I'm supposed to sit there and take it? I'm not going to take it. And then he strikes me because of what I said for shit he gave me permission to use last year to promote his movie. End of story.
Thank you, the Uber Way. I should have said Mr. Spock. He knows I'm a good Trekkie fan.
The Urban
Trekkie
Way.
fan? Star Trek fan? Trekkie fan. What is that? SEK? What's an SEK?
That's Switzerland. That's $5 right there.
I appreciate those $5.
Rich is on top of his global
I did not
currencies.
Well, only because the Urban Wave supported me, too.
Thank you, the Urban Way. I appreciate that.
I think I'm right. It is Switzerland, right? He'll tell
I
us.
think it could be.
It is. I'm pretty sure I'm right.
Yeah. Is it some of the same people that have been involved in the claims with Who's Lue and
Who knew?
and the strikes and the stuff that's been going on with your channel, Rich? Is there a link between this all?
Yeah, of course. Because Fessler's involved. And I know Dave, Scott, and Fessler have been plotting and scheming behind the scenes. But Fessler hasn't done anything to me other than try to get everybody to flag my channel, which could, by the way, make the algorithm not be friendly to your channel. So it's another way to ruin my success. And I think they don't like it, and that's that. And I don't have to say anything, and they do it anyway. I invited that fool on my show if he wanted to debate about it. I mean, he didn't strike me. I didn't strike him for using my shit, because I don't do that. I don't want to take money out of somebody's mouth. You know, I don't think that's right, just because they're talking shit.
It's not just
grow
that,
up.
It's
Get over it.
It's not fighting fair. You know, if someone has a problem with something, I would say, email that person,
right,
and say, I really don't like this on your channel. I'm warning you. Take that down. I'm gonna have to follow through, follow it up. You know, not follow through. Well, maybe they may follow through if they're that angry. But yeah, it's not something. I'm gonna sound a bit sexist here, but it's not something a man should do. You know, be a man. Grow some nipples.
It is.
See, the fact that you had to say that bothers me, because that's the type of people these guys are. I was gonna say they're like, oh my God, he didn't use the right pronoun. Go after him. It's like, you know what? It's all new to us anyway, and I'm not changing the way I speak and the way it's been done forever.
You're too old school.
I hate that you had to say this isn't sexist, but be a man up. You know, I mean, that's what we are. I think I am. Manny is. I know you are. You got a beard.
Manny's definitely a man because he's got man in his name.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Manny, you know.
But
right.
These guys aren't. You know. I mean, they're men, but I think they do. Manny, you don't have to say anything. But doesn't he identify as a woman too? Or am I wrong on that? I know I heard that somewhere. Or is he just gay? He's just gay, right?
I don't know, and I don't really care, to be honest with you.
I know, but we're talking about it.
He's kind of.
It just makes me mad.
Man. You said he's a coward, and that's the truth. These are cowardly actions. Ollie, like you said, if somebody uses clips of yours and you don't want them to take them down, then just email them, you know, and be straight up. Go ahead,
right.
Troy.
No, my point is that it's this culture, right? This cancel culture. And the LGBTQ people, they don't like straight guys like us talking, you know, the truth or whatever. They just don't. They want us out.
That's definitely not. I hang about in Manchester. I've got a group of friends. My best man at my wedding, for one. But you know, they say I understand what you're saying with social media, the way it's being pushed. It's nonsense, but that's definitely not true about. You know,
I think the thing is
about what? Say it. I don't understand what you mean. It's true.
Wait. Let me comment on that.
Loves a man.
Hang on. Let me comment on that. It's
not a straight man. Not a straight man.
Guys, it's not about gender preferences or
Definitely
choices
not.
or pronouns.
I know.
Because listen to me, extremists of all kinds will use cancel culture, whether it's political extremist, whether it's religious extremist, whether it's
they're just one example.
That's
all I'm saying.
It's all the same thing. They all use this cancel culture because they can't handle talking to the other side. That's it right there. And that's what we're dealing with here is one person who's doing that. And it's not one. I'm sorry. There's a group, as we know from our years of on UFO Twitter, there's a bunch of people out there that use this tactic. But people are getting hip to it. You're seeing it in our community. People who are normally, even if they disagree with us about Elizondo or think that they don't like our sarcasm or our humor or whatever, they're still saying that what this group of people is doing is wrong. You need to have another side of the conversation. The echo chamber is crashing down. That house of cards is done. The only person who still believes that that's still a reality is Lue, and he's just going to keep plowing on like that's the truth until, I mean, literally, he just crashes and burns. Well, let him. He's going to do it on camera. He's doing it right now in front of our eyes, and everybody's seeing it. Everybody's seeing it.
From an outsider that doesn't really take sides with it, because Rich calls me a bitch, but, you know, he just thinks I want to interview everybody in the channel, which is probably right. I would say it looks like they're running scared. The fact that they're going after Rich, the fact that they went after you for producing that documentary, it seems to me like they are running scared. They shit themselves.
Yeah, don't forget they went after Stephen Cambion as well, just for hosting me on his show. The same thing. And Ollie, I agree with you. I think they are running scared. I think the fact that Lue's on every single since Lue. When the movie came out, Lue hadn't been on a talk show or on YouTube in, I think, close to 2 months. Within 72 hours of Who's Lue coming out, he was on Fessler's show attacking my character, trying to do everything he could to make sure that the world knew that I was a D-bag and that this was a biased piece, and putting his spin on it. And he's been on a half a dozen talk shows since then, including Jimmy Church. And, just last night he was on the UFO Garage, right? The Two Taco Tuesday. He's doing everything he can to get his good name back in and to flood the record with his story to outweigh my 4,000 views I got on Who's Lue. And so, yeah, I think he is running scared. I don't think anybody's buying it, though, because, again, the only people that are there listening to his story are the same 15 to 20 people that have always been there. But now there's more people. Like I said, there's mainstream media folks looking at him. There's film producers looking at him now and watching him and saying the same thing that you're saying, Ollie. This guy's running scared. Why didn't he just come down on Manny and say, Manny, here's the answer to your questions? It's silly. Why didn't you just ask me? The guy has made so many bad plays. I tried to get a hold of him for a solid month before I put that thing out when it was done. And I said, Lue, there's embarrassing information about you in here. You probably want me to have to redact some of that. Just get with me and I'll talk with you. If it doesn't have to be in there, I won't put it in. But
well, Manny, it's not necessarily him that's running scared, but his community. They're doing the work for him. So something's happened, and it's scared that community's way of thinking. They do not want to see. They don't want to see Who's Lue. They don't want to know that information. I guarantee that most of them didn't even watch it. They didn't give it the time of day because they just thought, no, I'm not seeing anything negative about this. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't really get anything negative from. I'm touching my phone because I watched it on my phone. I didn't get anything negative from watching it. Not really. I all I saw was factual information that you were giving people, but people are getting irate over this, and it's not just the Lue thing because Lue's nothing to do with TTSA anymore. But they get irritated if you speak about TTSA. It seems to be that side of things that people, they just get pissed off. They don't want to hear any negatives because it's like you're going to destroy something that's started. And we've just got to wait. We've just got to hang fire. But I mean, with people like Manny and Rich, I think they're doing this. There's a lot of people investing a shitload of money. I think is TTSA still, or is it closed for investors at the minute?
Their IPO closed last year at the end of 2020, and I've done a lot of research into them and their stock offering, and they canceled. They basically, it expired, but they had made about $60 million or so in stock sales. And I've broken down exactly. I'm going to be doing a breakdown.
Yeah, that was that was in the doc actually. I think I remember you saying that in the doc. But my point there is, it's people like you guys that you don't tell people not to invest in stuff like that, but you're trying to give them the factual information. That's the way I see it anyway. And Rich, the way Rich works at GUFON, he just speaks his. You speak your fucking mind, Rich. And rightly so. Are you okay, Rich? You're frozen there for a second.
No. Just sitting here. Just waiting to say something.
Well,
no, not in a bad way. I'm just enjoying the show.
No, what I'm saying there, Rich, is it definitely seems like that side at the minute has something to hide. It seems like the community has something to hide because they don't want to see or hear anything negative said about that side.
I don't think they have anything to hide at all. What would they be hiding? I can't think of anything. They just don't like the way we do what we do. That's it. That's all it comes down to.
I think I worded that wrong. I think they're trying to hide them. I don't think they want to know. They don't want to know the truth because that's going to burst their bubble.
I think they know the truth. And it's hard for them to accept. How can you go against what Manny did? I mean, it was facts about Lue, where he's been, what he's done. How could you get mad at a factual document, movie? I can't think. Too much coffee.
You can't. You can't get mad at if anybody that watches that, and I challenge anybody, if you think Manny has produced a pile of rubbish that just talks nonsense, watch it. You can find the information out for yourself. A few bits I googled myself just to see how much research Manny's actually done. He's done his research. Everything that, as far as I'm concerned, is factual information, and I wouldn't even say it's a hit piece. It's not a hit piece at all, but people are treating it like that. Like that is a direct attack on it. It feels like a direct attack on ufology, and they're trying to protect their ufology, and that's why they're running scared from it, because they don't want to know what is in that at all.
No, I don't think it's that.
What do you think?
I think they just don't like the fact that Manny made a documentary that had things they may have never knew about. The many businesses and the shortcomings of his father, and how much Lue really isn't who he says he is. In a way, it seems like he was an angry young bully who was bullied and then turns the bullying around to everybody else. So he grew up, was skinny kid, got into the army right after 9/11, and then he got that attitude that comes with some people who look for a way to enhance their own inner being. And I think Lue, because he's not a tall man, he got big and wide, and he became a bouncer. He said he didn't like seeing people bullied. So it's weird just to see what he's doing. I think that's what Manny brought out. A lot of stuff about Lue talking about his childhood. Of course, it was on other things, that he was a very angry kid. And I've said all along from day one that this guy's a bully. So I know they don't like it when I say that. And it relates to the movie, I think. And when they see the movie, they also hear me saying, this about Lue and that about Lue. So for them, it's adding up everything, and they don't like it. They don't like the other way people think. They never thought of it. That's why they see Lue as Jesus Christ.
Have you seen any of the channels change their attitude from before getting Lue on the show to how they were speaking about Lue and TTSA before?
Right.
I say TTSA because way back when, these channels may have interviewed Lue while he was in TTSA.
Well, go ahead, Manny. You want to say something?
Yeah, about that. Here's a perfect example. Thomas Fessler a year ago was sitting, correct me if I'm wrong, Rich, was sitting in your chat room as a friend of your channel, laughing at all of the same things and calling Lue a BSer and joking about all of that stuff.
He was on my show saying how much he didn't like the way Lue was deceptive and hiding shit, and all they're doing this for is money.
Mm-hmm. So 6 months ago, he was sitting in my live stream chat where I was doing a test run of my Tommy the Troll, where I was, trolling Corbell and Elizondo, and he's sitting there saying, "Oh, this is great content. How wonderful!" Now here we are 6 months after that, and the guy's completely flip-flopped from a 180. He's now one of those Lue White Knights that goes and champions for Lue's cause on his behalf and does the sickest of nastiest of morally depraved things in his name. What do you say about that? I mean, if people like that were jumping to my ship and trying to follow me, I wouldn't have it. I tell people all the time in my chats and in my comments, don't go trolling people. Don't go attacking people. That's not how we do this here. Our arguments can hold up to scrutiny. Our thoughts can be defended and we can talk about them. We don't have to yell at someone to go away because I can't take what they're saying. And that's exactly what they're doing to us. They can't argue with our facts. They can't argue with Rich's opinions based on facts. So they have to attack his character. They have to attack my character. They have to attack Stephen Cambion's character and say, oh, these are bad people. Don't listen to them because we can't argue with their facts. I've got 3 hours worth of facts. I want counterfacts. I don't want feelings. I don't want people to tell me that I suck and Lue rules. That means nothing. I just hear the same old garbage there. It's the same old echo chamber nonsense. Let's talk about facts. Let's talk about evidence. And, you know, somebody said in the premiere, they were like, is there anybody in this room who trusts Lue? And I says, I trust the evidence. I mean, what's wrong with that? No, I don't trust Lue. I trust the evidence. People lie. Evidence doesn't lie. You know, so that's where I'm at with that.
I mean, some people may say, Manny, because you talked about the timescales of Lue's experience with working in this field, and you said you were explaining in the documentary that they don't quite match his background and where he was at the time and what he was doing. But could that not be of being covered up with what he was doing?
Yeah, of course. And especially if he was in some sort of high-level intelligence community operation, it most certainly could have. But that's not what we're seeing here. We're seeing a paper trail that looks the same as mine on paper. Was it covered up so good that it was just, you know, that mundane? Maybe, but why? He was commuting across the Bay Bridge from Kent Island to the Pentagon every day in his role there. He was a bureaucrat with his buddy Peter Robert, where they're sitting on the train every day talking about how they're going to get rich quick with these nautical patents that they've been working on since 2001, I assume, you know, or before. It just doesn't add up. If he was riding around in Apaches hunting UFOs like a top secret Mulder, they would have spent more than $22 million. I'll tell you that, because all the $22 million the program had went to those reports that went to Bass. So like none of it adds up, Ollie. None of it. The guy was not a super spy, you know. He was a desk agent, you know, and he had access to, in my opinion, probably the same information that was listed in that 180-day report, and that's it.
But you would agree that if somebody was a super spy, then the government could put a background story, and
I do agree,
and feed the evidence out over the net.
I do agree, and in fact, in the very beginning of researching this, I had made the realization to myself that the only way that I assumed that was going to be true, and that the only way that I could track down Lue was through the movements of his wife, which is one of the reasons I investigated her moves so thoroughly. But when I came to find out everything, I was like, wait a minute. I started sniff testing everything, and none of it sniffed kosher. Everything was not. It's just not. There's nothing in his story that holds up. Nothing. Everything is embellished. Like I said at the end of the film, the only things that I could confirm as facts were his name and his college education. Every other statement on his webpage was either unconfirmed, sourced to him himself with no evidence, or found to be straight up embellished.
Again, there though, if somebody wants to be a super spy, they will cover that up. The problem that I had, you kept showing a clip over and over again in that Who's Lue, and that was when he was on stage with TTSA, and I can't remember the words that he said when he's explaining that yes, they are here and they've been here. But
I can quote that to you by word if you want. Yeah, I've heard it a million times.
Please, yes.
Yeah, he's Lue Elizondo, and for the past 10 years, I ran a sensitive aerospace threat identification program at the Pentagon. And I am here. Oh, it was in this role that I discovered that the phenomenon is indeed true. Now, let's ask this. What phenomenon? The phenomenon of flying farts? The phenomenon of flying saucers? Or what? What the hell is this guy saying? And how did that turn into hours later George Knapp going, UFO, 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 UFO? What the Oh, I almost lost my cool there, sorry.
You're allowed to say that here. It's over 18s. That bit seemed very staged. And it was, I've never thought before until you said it about that piece with TTSA and the whole group of them with no audience. So can we discuss that iconic for the ufology group TTSA piece?
When did ufology just lose its mind? I mean, if that would have happened, you know, 12 years ago, and some CIA or spy or whatever guy would have jumped on stage and made that statement, ufology would have and Stan Friedman would have led the charge. He'd have said, where's the documents? Where's the proof? This is a great story. Where's the evidence of any of it? And for some reason, it didn't. And I'll tell you why. Because the mainstream grabbed it on day one and shoved it down our throats. And do you think some YouTuber with 6,000 subscribers is going to question Fox News, CNN, 60 Minutes, the Washington Post, the New York Times? I mean, all of these big places? We still can't question. I've tried to explain to people for years that all of those stories are sourced back to Lue and are garbage. There's a very small handful of stories out there where people called out that story just like I have done, but the mainstream didn't grab on it because there was no money in it. There were journalists that have been ringing the bell on this since day one, and they've been ignored. And it's going to, why? Because they go into their producers or they're trying to get this thing, published, and they're like, well, wait a minute, that's not a hot enough story. We've got this other story about Elizondo where he saved his unit in Iraq with his psychic seeing powers, and he's got a new book coming out. That's going to sell us more paper. It's a business choice, That's it.
That bit where Lue Elizondo gets introduced to the world by Tom DeLonge for the very first time, though, I never thought that there was no press there at all. I never put those. I never put two and two together with that at all. Thank you, Rob. I really do appreciate that. You get a Stephen Greer thumb up for that. I need to change Stephen's face. It's too yellow. But I appreciate that, my friend.
He's perfect.
I never put two and two. Rich, did you put two and two together that there was nobody at that press conference? Press conference. There was nobody at that presentation.
As a matter of fact, I think I played it the same time it came on when I was doing. I think I did my show, and saying, "Is nobody there? I don't hear any people, any rustling of seats, any cameras snapping." I said, "There's nobody there." So yeah, I did put it together.
Yeah, and Rich saw it, we saw it. I don't know if I saw it right away. I don't think I actually saw it until later when I was working on Who's Lue, and I was like, wait a minute. And it might have been something that Rich had said previously, like when that first came out, that popped up in my head later when I was working on it, But when I saw that, I was just like, yeah, that's definitely staged. And why didn't they have anybody there? Because they didn't want questions answered. Go ahead.
And they didn't show the audience. They didn't show people there like they normally do. They didn't take any questions. It was just weird. And everybody sat there. They looked totally uncomfortable. I don't know.
You see, David Wilcott learned from that because he proved he was Echo. They should have done something like that and showed the audience.
Yeah.
Right. As people who record, we all know, we all record here. And, I've got hardwood floors in my house, and I understand how sound waves bounce around an empty room if there's nothing to pick up, to absorb that sound.
Totally.
Like people wearing clothing, people sitting in chairs. And, so when you hear some of that stuff, and I pointed it out, I tried to make it as obvious as possible, but it was really, Who's Lue was hard because I was trying to keep it factual and unopinionated for the most part until the end when I threw my opinion in, obviously labeled as such. There was one other opinion about UFO Twitter that I put in there just for context, because I don't think people understand how important UFO Twitter and through that YouTube has become to Mr. Elizondo and his power base, so to speak. This has been the group that's been holding him for quite some time and supporting him. So that's it.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Josh. Have they ever released any quarterly annual financial records?
If you look at the breakdown that I did a 3-hour live stream a couple nights back where I went through their annual SEC filings, which are required by law to do during the time that they were offering this money. And I did break a lot of that down. It doesn't look like the investors have made anything else or have made anything. And now that they're doing this corporate restructuring, I wouldn't be surprised if the investors are laid bare after this. But the bottom line with TTSA, from all of the information that I looked at, is that there's two TTSAs going on, and they're still going on. There's a front of the house TTSA that involves Tom DeLonge, Angels and Airwaves, and all their merch and all that stuff, and that's what we all see. There's also a back of the house TTSA, which includes Jim Semivan, Hal Puthoff, and all of these strange, bizarre contracts that or projects that require CRADA with the government and look like they're going to be programs that they're going to try to get no bid contracts on through the government for some outrageous amount of sum. The one that I just found was what I called a propaganda machine, but it's called the Industrial Rapid Response, I don't know, something vehicle. And it's this weird truck that you can drive up somewhere and park. And it's got these 3 LCD screens that come up together to form a 35-foot display to play propaganda to the world. And they're building this thing under the guise of, oh, we're going to give it to the DOD under a contract, well, maybe if they need to roll it into Syria or Iraq or wherever we're at to get some news out, like vacate the damn city or whatever. But again, we know that this is probably going to just be another no bid contract from the Pentagon where they'll charge $800,000 for something that should be $8,000. Like the Halliburton hammers and the rolls of duct tape and all that stuff that we know goes on with these stupid contracts where nobody bids because nobody knows about it except for the one guy who's out there trying to capitalize on it. In this case, Semivan and Puthoff. But they've got a half a dozen or so projects that they're working on over there that nobody knows about. They're right there in the paperwork, but nobody's talking about it. I stumbled across them in the SEC filings. They're right there. I would encourage people to go and look at that stuff because they've tried to make it hard to find it. They've taken it off their webpage. You now have to go to the SEC page because they're no longer currently offering stocks. They don't have to make all that information public. But it's sketchy. And from what I understand, there's an article that's going to be published in a day or two blowing the lid off the whole thing. And there's some other people who are looking at it in the mainstream media. So keep your eyes peeled on TTSA. They're not dead. And there's something real shady going on over there. The front of the house that I described with DeLong is what I focused on in my live stream the other night. But I show how Tom DeLong has structured a public benefit company to benefit himself only. He gets paid a dozen different ways before the shareholders or the public will ever see anything. And the only public benefit that company has ever provided that they claim on paperwork was contributing to the Unidentified series on the History Channel, which isn't even their project. They're basically getting paid to make Unidentified, and they're saying this is our public service. And that way they don't have to, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun. The whole reason that's important is because a public benefit corporation does not have the same liability to its stockholders that a normal corporation does. A normal corporation, if they did what Tom DeLong's doing, would be shut down in a heartbeat for fraud and theft because they're not meeting the financial obligation to their shareholders to give them profit. Now, a public benefit corporation, which is a new thing that just started about 12 years ago, doesn't have to do that, but they're supposed to be spending that money on public benefits, not giving it all to Tom DeLong for royalties, salaries, intellectual property, stock participation benefits. I mean, the guy gets paid 800 different ways before anybody else, including when the little guy, by the way, your buddy Oswaldo, I tried to get a hold of him and ask him because somebody has said that he's bought stock and he told me to go F myself, that he's not taking part in some hit piece on the TTSA. But Oswaldo, if he bought a single stock, he should watch my video that I just put out because Tom DeLong just gave himself 750,000 of those same stocks that Oswaldo has for nothing. And so now if Oswaldo is even going to get a nickel, he's got to chop that up with Tom DeLong, who's going to get 5 times the amount that he's getting there too, on top of getting everything from the top.
I will say this for Osvaldo's sake. I hope it works out because I love that guy. He's a nice guy, and his heart is in ufology. It really is. I did say to him from day one with TTSA, be careful with those investments. But I don't know how much he's invested or what he's put into there. I just, I know he is an investor.
The only way I believe he's going to get any money back from TTSA is if Oswaldo, as a stockholder, goes to the SEC page right now and files a whistleblower report on TTSA and is involved in getting collection of money back, because then he will get a percentage of the whistleblower profit as a reward. I don't think he's ever going to get a nickel back otherwise. Honestly, I don't think he is. I hope he does, because I agree with you. I think Oswaldo, on a personal level, is kind of a nice guy, even though he's freaked out on me a few times to the point where I won't even talk to him because he's so in left field about what he says and does, and
Because
just comes
there's
out
a
and calls
passion
people liars.
for when you
No, he's an
have-
asshole, Ollie. He's an asshole. He called me a liar for nothing, something I didn't say right off the bat. And I said, I think you're mistaken. I gave him 3 chances to say, I think you're mistaken. And no, you're a liar. You're a liar. You're a liar. He's an asshole, but that's okay. He was just mistaken.
You see, Manny, I've seen this a lot. I've seen when people have a passion for something or a certain group of people, and they will defend that. So that doesn't mean to say that he thinks you're an asshole. He's like, you're treading on my turf, mate. Fuck off.
Yeah, I got you.
That's what he's doing. So
Okay.
but
Well, that makes sense. So I don't hold that against him. Like, I get it. Like,
I've known the guy for years, and he's a great guy. But do I think he's made the right choice by investing in TCSA? Well, I wouldn't personally invest in there because he told me I should. I never have, because I've always felt. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. My wife wouldn't let me invest. I did want to invest. She wouldn't.
Good for her.
I just wanted to put $200 in. That was it, just to see where it went. But for Osvaldo's sake, I hope he makes some money off it. If not, Oz, chase Manny up and listen to what he's going to say. I'll
help him file the form. I'll help him go to the SEC and file the whistleblower form and give them all the information that he's gotten. And that's if he wants to, but I don't think he's going to get a stock payout at all. And
are there some investors doing that? Do you know this?
I wouldn't be surprised if quite a few have. If I had a single stock in that company, I would have already. But I don't, so I can't. I have personally filed a complaint with the SEC with them to be investigated from a civilian's point of view, and I forwarded them all the information that I have. Got no response. So I don't know if that goes to somebody's desk and it needs to be reviewed or whatever, but that's not my fight because I don't have stock in that company. There's only so much that I can do to protect people from their own uninformed decisions, like this. Ollie, you asked about TTSA. UFO Seekers did a 8-minute video that broke that company down on day one. Everybody should have known. It was all there.
He's just put that out, hasn't he? Has he just put that out recently?
Oh no, that came out on day one. He put that out way when they first came out.
No, he's just done some. I'm sure he's just done something else on TTSA.
Okay, I got you. Yeah. I'll go and look.
Or it may have been a clip. I saw something literally 2 days ago, but I've been looking into this. Rich, do you? Why do you think Lue jumped ship with TTSA?
Well, I don't think they got along. I don't think they saw eye to eye. I know he was saying he didn't mention names, but people weren't getting along or seeing eye to eye with Tom DeShong, So apparently they come from 2 different worlds and they couldn't rectify their situation. That's it. And also, they weren't doing anything. Maybe Lue has real intentions of doing real research. I'm not seeing it much other than him trying to get that AOI MSG office at the Pentagon. But the threat, all that stuff is gone right after June 25th. It was all over, I think, for them. That's it. I don't think there's much to it. It's pretty simple. I wouldn't want to work with Tom DeShong.
How long after was it that the Melon went?
Same time. They left together.
They left together.
Yeah, that's how I remembered it.
Because I heard Lue left first and then Melon jumped ship.
Well, no, I think they left together.
So they must have been talking, We need to get off.
Of course they were.
Yeah, they're still together. They're over at Galileo Project together. That's the partnership that won't go away, because the second that Lue separates himself from Mellon, he loses his political protection and could then be charged for all of the things that he's done that he ought to have been, that he should be charged with, like leaking videos and conspiring to defraud the government for a year and profiting off of both of those crimes to this date.
But you're saying he leaked those videos, and I don't think he did.
He was responsible. He was partially responsible for it, as I outlined in the film. Christopher Mellon could not have gotten access to them if Lue hadn't declassified them. So there's a disconnect of plausible deniability where Lue says, all I did was declassify them. And then Mellon says, well, all I did was walk out of the Pentagon parking lot with them. It's plausible deniability. It's mafioso mentality. It's the same kind of thing. You know, like nobody buys that bullshit. You know, you look at the facts. Him pushing those videos through for close to a year, leaving right after they get declassified, having his wife move to Encinitas a year before he quit the Pentagon, right next to TTSA headquarters, and any reasonable person can conclude that he was conspiring to do this for a year with these people. It doesn't take ironclad evidence in this court of public opinion. You know, unfortunately, that's how it works. You know, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence he needs to answer for and come up with the real answer, not just plausible deniability. Plausible deniability works up on the Hill, but down here in the real world, nobody gives a crap about that because we know he's full of shit when he says that. You know, he is.
But they weren't leaked. They were legally given to the public. Yes.
No.
It said it on the thing. It's made for public distribution. There was a stamp. No. That's where I think you're wrong, because it does say it, but then there's a stamp that said it is approved for publication.
Hold on. The statement from Susan Go, the Pentagon spokesperson, clearly defined that and says these were released improperly through improper channels, and even if they would have been, for one, a non-U.S. government agency cannot speak on behalf of the government. There's the first number one that's wrong. The second one that's wrong is that this is an industry partner releasing confidential information, even though it was declassified. They're still not allowed to give that to the public. She clearly states that it was leaked to the media using improper channels. That's it. They were leaked. They just haven't investigated it.
I don't know. It doesn't look that way to me. See, then, we don't have to agree on everything, but that's why the movie's controversial too, because there's things like that stick out, and people are just, and why is Susan Goff or Go, whatever the frig her horribly spelled last name is, why is she such an authority on this?
She's the official spokesperson for the Pentagon.
Right. Right.
I'm not sure who else would be. We have to get an official statement from the government. It's got to come from someone. It comes from their spokesperson. Just like when I wrote a letter to the NCIS spokesperson and said, why hasn't the Navy investigated these leaks? It's been 4 years. Statute of limitations, 5 or 10 probably. We need to get on this if you're ever going to. And if you're not, I want an answer why. Because I do want to know why. I said it in the movie. The only answer that I could come up with is that they already know who did it. They know that Lue Elizondo was responsible for getting these things declassified and may have been the one to actually hand them to Christopher Mellon in the parking lot, or there may have been a unknown third party. In the RICO warrant, you would say unknown subject B, and that's what we're talking about here. Criminal conspiracies, ongoing criminal conspiracies to profit. This is not only a huge civilian law, infraction, but military. We're talking about the military. If these videos would have gone to China or Russia, would people be okay with them being leaked and not saying that they need to be investigated? Hell no. But they go to a private company that benefits Tom DeLonge and people are okay with it? Why? Why aren't people just infuriated that these videos came out and the way that they did, and that there's not more? This isn't about disclosure. It's about profit.
Sorry, man. I was just putting the link in the description. Somebody was asking about GUFON's backup channel. Does that, if this is true, because I haven't heard this either. But I am no ufologist at all. But if this is true that Lue got these out and he shouldn't have done that, does that mean to say that they are important? Because a lot of people say that there's a few people are saying that these videos are nothing but nonsense. I
tend to agree. I don't think they're anything special. I think the Aguadilla, Puerto Rico UFO sighting with all of the ground-based civilian radar that they had from the FAA and other data from the Customs and Border plane is a way better sighting. But that's only because we have that little bit of information. Elizondo brought us a short clip of a video he claims is 22 minutes long. Why didn't he get the whole thing? Where's the rest of the data? Where's all the sensor data from the Princeton? Where's all the sensor data from the AWACS that's up in the sky, the big bird, that's got the giant radar dish on top that does this for a living? Like where's all the rest of it? Instead, we get a one little clip and we're told, like that there's more. Sure. I'd like to see that, and then maybe I'll value the Princeton or the Nimitz sighting a little bit better. But until then, I don't think it's all that important. I think that it was mischaracterized in the media as being super important, and I think that's why people still believe it, because of that media cycle that just pounded into their head that these were UFOs and these were something special, even though when the dust settles, it's all garbage.
So, the documentary "Who's Lue" it's very factual, and there's nothing really in there that I would say accuses him of anything, but it just shows all the factual information. Why do you think he's here and doing what he's doing? Because you're not in a documentary now.
I'll give my opinion. I'd love to. Yeah. At the end of the day, when I look at all of the evidence around Lue, TTSA, Mellon, this whole group, the agenda as I call it, they are attempting to get the United States top secret technology declassified so that they can export it to our allies for profit. And the motivation might come from our allies who want that, who are trying to put pressure onto our top secret programs to get things declassified again so they can have access to it. And I'm not real big on that. Not big on that. Some of our allies do some pretty horrible things with our weapons and are allowed to because of politics. And I'm not okay with that, especially if this is somebody trying to force something on our country to release something that they're not willing to or don't want to. Then I'm triple not okay with that. Do I like the disclosure lie and the fact that Lockheed, Boeing, and all of our special access projects have all that stuff locked up? Hell no. But I don't want to follow a disclosure charge off a cliff and say, yeah, I'm down for this disclosure charge when they're only going to get us weapons and propulsion technology. That's not the sort of disclosure I'm down for, and that is not the sort of disclosure that if we get that disclosure, we won't get full disclosure. They'll say, here's your disclosure. You've already got it. Bye. And that's all we'll get. We'll never get the good stuff. So I'm not down for that, and that's why I'm resistant to this. I do want the full disclosure, and I am a little concerned that this might be an outside influence that's trying to act against our country. So there is a patriotic element to it, and people are going to say, "Really, Manny, you're a patriot, and Lue isn't?" Well, if he's not representing the United States citizens and the United States best interests, I guess not. I guess not. If he's representing a foreign interest for money, definitely not. Right? I mean, I just don't know what to say. I mean, there it is. I think it's all about that tech. Chris Mellon said last week that they were looking at this SpaceNet imaging program that could, you could get a high resolution image of a baseball from 20,000 miles away from the ground. That to me sounds like some kind of tech that our allies might want, and that they're going to try to get declassified under the Galileo project, but it's really going to be going to somebody else. Would Avi love to have something like that? Sure, a lot of astronomers would. I know Rich would, so he could go do some sky watching with something like that. But they're not going to give it to us. They're going to sell it to other people who can afford
it. The only problem I have with this, and you're probably both going to laugh at me now, but it's Tom DeLonge. That's the problem I have, the rock star. Because this rock star, I semi-followed him as a kid. With my friend, my mates were more Blink-182 fans than I was. I was just like in it for the, going out and meeting up at the house parties where they'd play the Blink-182. But I saw clips, and I knew back then, because I was into UFOs and aliens. I knew the lead singer was into UFOs and aliens. So if you're saying that DeLonge's in on this and he's wanting to sell the tech on that's not what you're saying.
I believe that Tom DeLonge is in on it, but he's what I call a rube. He's somebody who they knew that they could use because he put himself on the radar way back in the early 2000s with Podesta and all that stuff in the emails. So basically, Tom DeLonge is not even Lue. If we're talking about an international coalition, that's so far above even Lue or Mellon. You're talking so many levels of people, just like a military operation where there's bureaucracy. Well, there's rings of people in these things too, and that's so far above even Tom DeLonge or Lue Elizondo. I doubt they even know or suspect what I just said. Because they don't know who they're working for. They really don't. Or they think, like Tom DeLonge might think that it's Chris Mellon, but it's not. It's 5 people up from Chris Mellon. You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that the pawns and the expendable guys don't get the whole plan. They just get their compartmentalized part. You know what I'm saying? Just like any operation. And anyone who's in the front is a pawn.
I don't know if you've ever seen it, that they may be still on the internet of Tom as a young lad and being interviewed about UFOs and all that jazz, and Kennedy, and he was into it all, all the conspiracies. He loved it. And that I saw a man with passion for the subject, a little bit crazy, but I saw a man with passion that had a love for this subject. And he made a shitload of money from Blink-182. So why go into TTSA and I mean, is it that whole thing that money becomes a drug and it becomes addictive, and that's taken over his passion, and he just, because you're saying they know this tech is yours, it's your tech, and they want to sell that tech out. That's the whole point to this.
Yeah, well, that's the back end of it, as I talked about. Then the front end of it is, and it's kind of muddied there because obviously Mellon and Elizondo are no longer with TTSA officially. They're over at the Galileo Project and doing other things.
So how much would they make?
Oh,
hypothetically,
do you want to know what Lockheed Martin made last year in international arms sales? Go ahead and look it up. It's all online. It's a big number. It's a giant number.
Fuck, I wish I'd invested now.
You don't have to. Go to the Blackstone Group, which is the #1 American hedge fund, which pretty much owns Lockheed Martin.
I'm saying I wish I'd have invested.
You shouldn't have, and I'm going to tell you why. Because you're never going to get that money back. All of the money that got invested in there was spent during those years on these weird. They spent it all, and if you look, it was all in stock benefits. Now that they're going to write all that off, and all of the money that they make off of these DoD contracts are going to go to the board, the people who own those stocks, if any, and not down to the little guy. It's sick. I mean, I broke it all down, but maybe there's something there. I guess we'll see. If anybody out there has bought TTSA stock and got paid a nickel on it, please tell me, because everyone I've talked to has said that they haven't. I've asked George Knapp to do an article.
They've not. He won't. I know this. I've spoke to investors. Nobody's had a nickel yet. As far as I've spoke to 2 investors. One we know. No.
Yeah. So that's where we're at on that. And it's a lot of money, and it might not just be, when you start talking about that money, it's not that kind of money. It's not really about money to those players. It's about power. You know what I mean? Because you're starting to talk about big time money, they don't need more money. Does Chris Mellon need any money? No, the guy's got FU money. He could just walk away, and him and his, next 4 generations of children will be fine. So this is about power, loyalty. It's hard to explain. And the thing to keep in mind, each one of these players in this agenda is in it for their own different little gig. They're all getting a little something out of it while they're also furthering this agenda too. You get what I'm saying? It's not like anyone's just 100% about the agenda. They're all getting money. They're all getting power. They're all getting something. And that's, as well as furthering the group agenda.
Thanks, Billy Bob. I appreciate that, my friend.
Where are they getting the money from?
First, Rich, it came from the stock investors, and then now it's going to be coming from those DoD contracts that they're getting under the CRADA. The no-bid contracts. Yeah.
They're getting contracts to do what, though?
Like to put out that propaganda machine and some other things for the DoD. That's what I'm talking about. There's a front of the house and there's a back of the house.
Yeah.
And they're both TTSA, but they're doing 2 different things. So when everyone's talking about Merch and Tom DeLonge, that's the front. Hal Puthoff and Jim Semivan with all their weird DoD, stuff is in the back.
That's what the mob does. They bring in the meat through the back door, and out through the side door go the fur coats.
That's, what? It's just like in Goodfellas, like the restaurant.
Yeah,
man. That's exactly what they're doing there. Yep.
It's a wash, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing there. And Tom is okay with it because he's getting paid a bunch of money. I don't know what Tom's finances were looking like before he started TTSA from Blink 182. Everyone says he was loaded. He may have been, or he may have been broke. I don't know. All that I know is when he started that company, he put close to $500,000 of debt into it to sell to the stockholders, as Tim Doyle explained in his TTSA breakdown when it first came down. And then from there, he leveraged everything in the company, which I explained in my breakdown, to basically pay himself 100 different ways before anybody else gets paid. Yeah, and he's done some other shady things there. Like they took a PPP check last year for coronavirus relief and then used it to buy their way out of a lease, you know, when they had already stated that they had made online moves and merchandising moves to offset any economic damage they had from coronavirus. So I just don't know how that was legal, but hey, big business for the win. Yeah, like, oh God.
I watched the UFO proof last night, and he was speaking about this drama with Lue at the moment, and people going against the grain. For example, well, not example, but factual. Rich and Manny here, and he was saying that he thinks Greer's responsible for this. That Greer has spoke to people like Third Phase of Moon, and he started this off. I would disagree there because I remember. I think I remember the first person I heard disagreeing with this was you, Rich.
Yeah, I know since the first day.
So,
but what UFO
that's interesting.
proof
That's
means-
interesting. Sorry, I'm just saying that's
Yeah.
interesting with the Greer thing though. That
Well, when Greer comes out, it's different than GUFON at the moment. Greer's a powerful guy. Well, I don't know. He's just got some pull, and people still listen to him. And Third Phase of Moon put him out there because he wanted to challenge the narrative in one of the biggest UFO channels on the internet. So that really, in my opinion, and UFO proofs really changed a lot of things. And it made people like listen to another narrative for once. And seeing how they backed down from the challenge. None of them wanted to go and talk to Greer. That really made me wonder too. Like, you mean not even Nick Pope? Even Nick Pope said no.
it was interesting though. He said it's almost like a disclosure war that Greer's Nick has got in a twist because he feels like these guys are threatening his disclosure.
No, that is nothing.
I'm just talking about what he said.
I know.
No,
I'm
you're saying what he
reacting
said.
to
I get it.
I'm reacting to it because that's silly.
I agree, it is silly. And, you know, like a lot of people, I said it in the film that when Greer, you know, kind of drew a line in the sand with Lue, that he took a lot of heat for that. People who had supported him for years jumped ship. And honestly, I don't agree with Dr. Greer on a lot of subjects. You know, there's a lot of his older stuff I thoroughly enjoy and love. You know, the Disclosure Project, I think, was one of the best things for disclosure in a long time. You know, if not the single most important thing of our generation. You know, whether it panned out or not, he put the effort in there, and I agreed with him on that. But and on the subject of Elizondo, 100%. There are some other things I don't agree with. You know, selling you know, flares or whatever, all that crap. I just like whatever. Don't want to get into that. But
Everybody does it, Manny. They all
There you
do
go.
it, and people still buy.
And is that any worse than Elizondo telling people he saved his unit in Afghanistan with his remote seeing powers and selling them that in a book?
Right.
I mean, come on. Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
You know, if we're going to hold Greer under a microscope, but, you know, Elizondo gets a pass on 4 years of lies? Yeah, that doesn't work for me.
Didn't he? He was the remote viewer guy who told stories around the campfire at the base, right?
I wouldn't know. Yeah, maybe that was one of them. That clip from Skinwalkers just irks me. As he's sitting there eating his steak tartare, Elizondo regaled those around him with stories of his soldier's day in Afghanistan. it's, oh man, it's just, I had a buddy who came back from Afghanistan and was a gunner on a tank. And, you know, he had stories like that too, about how 200, you know, Iraqis or Afghanis, you know, people ran up and, you know, were trying to, you know, surrender to him and things like this. And I was just like, I went out to drink with them one night and a buddy from his unit. And when he's in the bathroom, I'm like, is anything he says true? And he's like, it's about 10%, you know, like, you know, and that's just, it's one of those people, you know, like he's a war story guy. It's great for copy. Look, the mainstream media gobbles it right up, but is it good for any form of fact? Nah. You know, if you want a good doozy, go get a Stephen King book. You know, don't read Elizondo's half-baked book. Like, go to a real author.
I couldn't agree with Rich more here. I mean, it did seem that for me that Greer went from hero to zero, especially when he put some of the stuff that he's done, like the flares that are blatant flares. There's things that have gone into his movie that I had to correct one of my videos because I got a hold of his movie early and I got really excited about UFO. And it was actually Osvaldo Franco that turned around and said, mate, he sent me the full video where I just took the clip from the film and it was skydivers. What I got excited for, it was a fucking TR-3B. But you don't speak with Greer with as much malice as you speak about Lue. Why is that?
Because I don't know Dr. Greer. I've never met Dr. Greer, and I've actually spoke out about some of his other stuff before. Plus, Dr. Greer's not going in front of the world trying to bamboozle them to twist disclosure into a defense industry movement. Lue is.
He has gone in front of the world.
He's done it. Yeah, he did it.
Yeah, but not to do what Lue's doing. That's what he's saying.
He told the truth. What was the disclosure project? Did he go to Congress and try to get a UFO office that he was in control of? Hell no, he didn't. That's what Lue and Mellon have done. They've created yet another ATIP in the Pentagon that's going to be abused and abused just like the old one was. I mean, come on. It's so basic, man, and you don't have to get into deep politics to see what goes on here. All you have to do is read more than one Defense Intelligence Authorization Act, and you'll see this sort of shit's been in there for years. It's nothing new. It's no big win. It's the same old crap with a pretty bow on it.
But let me ask you something, Manny. What's wrong with what Lue and Mellon are doing? Why are you so angry that they want to have this office in there? For themselves.
I don't care about their office because it's the same junk as it was before. They're just going to try to get more contracts for whatever the new BAS is, which will probably be TTSA. You know, that's probably what they're doing. And it's just crony capitalism, and I'm offended by it because they are subjugating our disclosure efforts and our disclosure talks for their own purposes. They've got people who should be pushing for full disclosure are now, instead of pushing for these stupid offices and to get Congress involved. Congress has always been involved, man. Just because a junior member who just got elected last year is happy to be on a new committee doesn't mean that there's some new congressional oversight. And here's a little tip for everybody out there. The reason that these are bipartisan efforts is because the defense industry lobbies both sides. The defense industry is apolitical because they can't choose a side because they never know who's going to win every year. Or they before 2010 they didn't. Now they can buy an election. Now they can create a super PAC to buy the election that they want. And guess what? They are.
But this is the first time that Congress has been involved like this to the public, where annually they have got to disclose what they found through their investigations over the past year. So this is something we've never seen before. Now, we know, you know, I know, we're never going to see shit coming out of this office that means anything. It's still going to be FLIR video off to the side, a few seconds here, and that's it. We're not going to get the clear 23-minute videos that's supposedly still out there.
God, I've been waiting for that one for so long.
I know.
We'll never see it. No, there's a knee-jerk reaction when Elizondo tried to pull that out of the Pentagon. It just snapped the turtle's head, just went right back into the shell. We'll never get that. And people should just give up on that sighting anyways. Nimitz come on, we were tracking that thing. I just found out not for a week, but for 2 weeks they were out there playing with that thing. There's no way in hell that was a UFO and didn't get shot at in 2 weeks. Okay, UFOs are engaged within minutes, not hours, not days, not weeks. Minutes they are engaged. Sorry, I truly believe that was our technology, and that Elizondo knows that and is trying to force that into the public. Why? So they can get it declassified and sell it to somebody else, right?
But Manny, yeah,
Right?
but they
Why
did.
else would he care?
But Fravor did go out and try to confront it. That's why it got such major play. Because they
He
finally
didn't shoot a
said, oh,
weapon
here
on
it's
it.
back. Huh?
No, he never engaged that. He never locked his targets on it or fired a single round or a missile at that.
Yes, he
thing. That was
did.
not
He
engaged.
said he locked his targets in on it and was having a hard time with it.
Oh, so
he
he
was-
fired on it?
No, he didn't get to because it took off. It was in the water and everything, bouncing around like a ping pong ball.
Cool. I'm glad that he engaged it. He at least tried to lock his weapon system on it.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that that's the first thing all the pilots didn't do. I read that they didn't have any weapons on. That Fravor specifically had training ordnance on, which are just dummy rounds.
Oh, unless I'm
balance the
misremembering.
But no, he may have actually locked his weapon system on anyways, just to see if he could get a targeting lock on it.
Maybe.
And that's what caused it to jump away.
See,
Yeah.
that's what they hope. They hope that they do what I may have just done, and that's mix things up with all these different stories.
But the thing
Because
is, Rich,
there's-
Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Go
no,
ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say, we even have electronic countermeasures. We have ECCMs. So if I'm flying along in my F-22 and somebody locks their weapon system on me, even if they've never fired, I'm going to get a warning that they've locked a weapon system on me. It's going to detect the radar. It's going to detect the LiDAR, whatever they're using, the infrared to lock onto me. And it's going to give me a red thing that says, alert, alert, alert. So it's real safe to assume that any sort of our test, if this was a Lockheed or a special top secret piece at the Nimitz, it's safe to assume that they would also have that ability. And the second that Fravor locked his scope on it, it would take off. It would say, no, I've got a weapons lock. My AI is programmed that the second I got a weapons lock on me, I hit that switch to go, balls out so that they can't catch me.
Yeah.
It totally stands to reason. So, I'd like to interview Fravor. Dave, let's talk, man. Let's get a little bit more information out, like some straight info, right after I get through with Lue.
Do you think you're going to get that interview with Lue?
Oh yeah. I'm getting my interview with Lue, and he knows it just as well as I do. And the sooner that he realizes it and comes to me and gives it to me, the better off it is for him. The better off it is. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Well, I mean, Mick West managed to interview him, and I didn't think that would happen, and that happened.
Cool. So did John Greenwald. So have a lot of people. Have any of them held him to task on the hard questions? I don't really feel like that's the case, and I'm not dogging on those people. I'm saying I would ask a significantly different line of questions than anybody has asked him.
Well,
And he knows that.
I've heard, I think you told me this, Rich, that anybody who interviews Lue, you get told the questions that you're allowed to ask and that you're not allowed to ask. Is that right?
That's true. This is what you can ask Lue. Don't ask anything about this, that, or the other.
Was it Dave you spoke to about his interview?
I didn't speak to Dave. Dave spoke to Cousins boys, I think.
And said that he was given a list of what he was allowed to ask.
Yeah.
Was he given a list of what he should ask, or?
Yeah, I don't know the details, but all I know is that they told him what he can say and what not to say, I think. So, but I know he was given, I think, just a guideline of what to ask. And then Lue, well, you just follow each other, I guess. I don't know, but that's how it went down. And I believe it because all these questions are softball questions that we've heard time and time again.
I've heard both from people. Like, I've heard people say that they had to forward questions, and then I've heard other people say that they didn't. But the people who didn't were generally more of it seemed like they were already well established, that they were kind of on a lighter level, that they wouldn't ask any hard questions anyways. It was more personality stuff and less, less invest. It wasn't journalism. It was just a personality piece, and that's fine. Like if they are, what talk show hosts don't have to grill people. If you're not trying to push yourself off as news or as an investigative journalism, you're just an interviewer. And that's fine.
A boring one, yeah.
But if you need to establish that too, and not pass yourself off as news, if you're just going to give a guy a one-sided platform to speak his beef, so.
Yeah, sorry, Blue Chicken. I nearly blocked you from the channel then because I looked at his font and thought it was some sort of one of them channels that introduces you to your subscribers to naughtiness. I wonder, how has he got that font? That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. What you're saying there, though, Manny, is when it comes to Lue, TTSA, this corporation, it cannot be trusted. So Lue knows that you've put out there that this guy can't be trusted. If you're going to get this interview with him, okay, and he's got this background of giving the host whoever's he's working with, his secretary or whatever, gives the co-host the questions. So if he gives you those questions and says, yeah, we'll do the interview, but this is what you're not allowed to ask, I mean, how are you going to do that interview?
That's not how I work. I'm an investigative journalist in this case. This is an investigative journalism piece. And my offer to Lue Elizondo is not to interview him. It's to sit down with him and watch Who's Lue. And he can ask me to stop it at any time to make a comment, to clarify, or to deny anything that's in it. And that's my offer. I'm about the truth. I'm not about one-sided stories. I'm not about one-sided narratives. It's just that simple. If he wants to come on, hang on, I need to address something right here again. V has said something in the chat. Could you pop that up? Step 1 for the interview. Do not slander the interviewee. Could you pop that up?
Which one?
From V. It just came through on my chat. I don't think I
literally
can put it on.
Just come through now. Ah, yeah, there we go.
Okay. Slander. All right. I've been trying to get a hold of Lue Elizondo for years to talk in different ways. When I did this project, I contacted him through every email address that I could find in my extensive research. I went onto Twitter and tagged him. Sent direct messages to everybody who I knew who had interviewed him that might have contact with him, saying, hey, I'm trying to get in touch with this guy. Can you put me in touch with him? I believe Lue Elizondo knew that I was trying to get in touch with him, even though he's claimed that he hasn't. He ignored me just like he's ignored everybody else. I've never slandered Lue once. My film is not slander. My film is a commentary on a public figure. It's been characterized as slander, and that's why I want to address it. It's been characterized as a hit piece. It's been characterized as doxing. It is none of those things. This is a commentary on a public figure to repudiate, to show that his public statements conflict with the public records. That's it. It wasn't a personal attack. It wasn't slander. If I was going to slander someone, they would know it. I would make up all kinds of crazy stuff about aliens and conspiracies and, all kinds of crazy things. I'm far more creative than that. I'm far more creative. This was not that type of work. And I just wanted to address that for V because it's not slander. And guess what? I'm not going to kiss Lue's ring to get an interview. He does not have a UFO ring. He is not Nero. He is... I'm done. I've tried that. I've tried being respectful. The ball is in his court. I've called him out. If he wants to ignore it, it's just going to make the fire get bigger and bigger. And that's why I say he's going to be addressing it one day. Not because I'm going to kiss his ring and go through the hoops to make Lue feel like I deserve an interview with him. No, it's going to be because he's realized that it's going to do more damage to his image to continue to ignore it. That's the end of it. That's it.
So, if you interviewed him, I mean, I'm not going to ask you to blow your secrets, your questions that you're going to ask him now, but obviously you're going to ask him about everything that's in your documentary. So, I mean, the stuff in the documentary it's not that bad. Again, going back to and watching the documentary, all that says to me is he wasn't where he said he was and doing what he's telling people he was doing. But could he not do both?
I don't believe he could. I don't think that the guy can be working for the Pentagon loyally as a soldier and a military member and still be conspiring with Chris Mellon, Tom DeLonge, and God knows who else to defraud the government for footage, for profit. The reason you guys I wish I could. The way the military works when you get out, if I don't know what Lue's rank was, and I don't know what he was making. I know that according to my understanding of the government pay scale, as a man who only held a bachelor's degree, the highest rank he could have been was GS9, which is not that much money. There was a review done on Who's Lou recently by a member of the infantry. He was an infantry member. I forget the guy's name. And he talked about that sort of thing. And he says, that Lou's rank could have been functionally much higher than that. Okay. So he may have had a decent amount of money. But what the point is that when you leave the military to go join the private defense industry, you're doing that for money, because you're going to be making 2 to 3 times the amount of money that you were working for the military with these private contractors. That's why they all go into those fields when they're done. Lou even admitted it on TMZ. Oh, that's the only thing I'm qualified to do. That's all I can do. So they know if they take away my security clearance, I can't do it anymore. Well, damn straight. Damn straight. If he loses that security clearance, he can't go and work for whatever defense industry company that he's working for, which he admitted last year he's been doing for at least 18 months now, I think, if not longer, working for a defense industry. Is it Bigelow? Is it, is it Boeing? Is it some contractor connected one of those? We don't know. But, that's why people leave the military, is to make money in that case. Lou had 18 years to go to get his full retirement. He probably didn't want to do another 18 years there at the Pentagon riding a desk. Is he making more money now? Did you see my movie? Did you see the house he bought in California and flipped? Did you see the house that he bought in 2016, paid cash right out for and kept in somebody else's name for 2 years? How do people not see that was most likely a payoff when his wife moves to Encinitas, California, and the two of them purchase a house in West Virginia the same year, the same time, and it's all off the books? That's what I'm getting at in my point. And somebody else, V, asked, well, why bring up the wife and kids? I brought up the kids because I was telling the story of Who's Lou. I mentioned the youngest daughter once, and never by name, only to show that he had a daughter. And the other daughter, the older one, I never mentioned by name, and only twice, when she was born. And when I found a picture of her, I believe I found a picture of Lou, his wife, and his daughter at GQ Heroes. Those are the only 2 times. I did not bring those kids into anything. There's a lot more that I could have said about that if I really wanted to go that route. And I would never do that, because that's not who I am. It's not who I am. No matter how these idiots like Fessler want to portray me as a doxing, vindictive jerk-off, that's not how I am. I did the research. I know all about his family, all about him. I know all about every Lue Elizondo that has a business and property in this country. California, Denver, San Antonio, Florida. I know about all of them because I had to rule them out to make sure it wasn't Lou. It wasn't Lou. I'm solid with that. Sorry, V, if you were offended that I brought up their children, his children. And the reason I brought the wife into it was to show that he was conspiring with the TTSA for a year or longer to defraud the government and move to Encinitas, California, and to jump ship and go over there. I could not have done that without her information and her moves and that pattern that was explained in the film. I hope you understand that's why the family was brought into it, and that's it.
Oh, God. Yeah, why can't you mention the family? It's not like you said, oh, their kids go to this elementary school or this school and the wife works here. You didn't do any of that. I'm so sick of these sensitive people. Fuck. You can't even talk anymore. Oh, look what he just said. You mentioned he got a kid.
I didn't mention the child's name. I could have shown the full birth certificate. I didn't. I could have shown all that stuff. I didn't do any of that because it wasn't relevant. I redacted all of the information that was unnecessary and showed the minimum.
Right.
And I spent a significant amount of time doing that to err on the side of caution. So it offends me when people try to characterize my significant efforts as doxing and attacks. Like, y'all want that? I could do it. I could do it. I've had at least 6 people ask me for unredacted versions of these documents from this film. I won't give it to them. I'm like, if you want to go find it, do it on your own. But I'm not going to abide by that because I don't do that. My piece is solid. I stand by it. And if anyone wants to think that it's something else, that's fine. It's free world. You can do whatever, think whatever you want.
Manny, it was taken off YouTube. It is back on YouTube, and you had it on. Is it Odyssey platform?
Yeah,
What's the platform?
Yeah, it was on Odyssey. It's still on Odyssey. It'll never go off of Odyssey.
And is it on any other platforms?
Oh, it was on Vimeo where Tom Fessler struck it on there too, just to be
right. That's what I was actually going to ask. Has it been taken down on any other platforms?
Yeah, Vimeo. Tom filed a strike against as well.
So Tom Fessler's he's got a clip. Is there a clip that you used of his channel on there?
Yeah, I used a few of his clips. That's called.
It wasn't
Fair
a
Use,
lot,
and it's
though.
totally.
Yeah, it wasn't much.
Oh no, there was some clips I used multiple times, and one of them I think was a full 2 minutes, which people are like, "Oh, you can't do that." And I'm like, I guess we'll find out in copyright court.
How big's Fezler's channel?
I don't. Before this started, he had 1,900 subscribers. He gets 20 or 30 people per view, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, so if I was, Fezler, and I would be thinking, okay, he's used my work in that. If somebody wanted to put a clip from Alien Addict in a documentary, whether if somebody was saying this guy's full of shit, I don't really care what they say. To me, it's
free advertising.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he's kind of a moron for doing that, in my opinion, because he could have gotten a lot of free advertising off this, because I would have, just like everybody else whose clips I used in the video, I would have left his logos and everything intact, and I would have I had a shout out to him at the end of the credits, like everybody else, like,
yes!
Tom Fessler at Disclosure Tonight, like, because I did. I took all that out because he's a jerk. What am I supposed to say? Like the guy, the second I emailed him about this, he started attacking me and was going off trying to get John Greenwald, the Unidentified Celebrity Review, and Dave Scott, all to gang up on me to try to strike me off of YouTube. He was raising the flag.
So I finished watching it on Odyssey, where that was still in, I believe. But I'm sure you thanked him anyway. But on the one that's on YouTube now, have you taken all of Fessler's clips out?
No, and I will not, because those are used in a fair use public commentary case, and I have the right to do so, and I'm exercising my right. Those will not come out.
You've just taken out the thank you.
Yeah, and I've clipped his images off of it so he doesn't get named in it. He's now a random Lue-friendly YouTube live stream.
Good.
Yeah.
Just exactly who he is. Nobody.
He is nobody, and that's why I didn't even want to talk about him. But you know what? I'm glad that we did, because people do need to know it. There, if you want to give him credit for his actions, go ahead.
Well, I don't really know him. I know Rich has had his beef dinners with him, but that's all I know. He's had a bit of beef with him. But
well, anytime somebody fake friends you just to get to 1,000 subs, is an asshole.
I saw what happened there. I understand why Rich has got a beef, because Rich promoted that guy from nothing subscribers to get him up to 1,000 to get monetized, and it felt like to me like the second that he got monetized, he just totally turned around and stabbed Rich right in the back, tried to set him up and use him and all that crap. And I was like, my personal experience with Tom is nothing. Like I watched what he did to Rich, but I didn't comment on it. I'm like, well, that sucks, but like he's out of here, and I didn't care because I never cared for him anyways. It wasn't until Who's Lou came out that all of a sudden Tom Fessler's got some kind of weird, strange hate boner for me and wants to just come after me for everything. All of a sudden I'm evil now, and then it's just basic clout chasing, man. If it hadn't been me, it was Rich before that. It would have been Third Phase of Moon or Secure Team 10 or whoever's on top of the day. He's just gonna ride some clout. That's all that guy's got, because he's not real creative.
I remember seeing the guy on your channel, Rich, as a guest. He seemed like a great guy, like a nice guy.
Seemed like it.
But would you say this seems to me like he's being fed something here,
Not really.
I'm not saying that Lou's told him to do this, but the fact that he's had an interview with Lue. Am I right by saying that?
Twice.
Okay. So maybe he feels like he's got to pick that side. That's the side I've got to pick, because that's the side that's going to do well for me. Because you said it yourself, Rich, earlier, that he was saying stuff in the chat before about Lue. He didn't trust it all.
He is as fake as SOR is. That's why they support each other. Tom Fessler only cares about Tom Fessler and getting as many people to go over there as possible and create an army to go against anybody who disagrees with them. And that's it. And SOR goes in there and gives him super chats every time he goes live. And they suck off each other, basically, for lack of a better term. Or maybe that is the correct term in this case. For all I know is that's what they do. And Fessler will eventually screw over Dave Scott, or Dave Scott will screw him over. They're perfect for each other. Yeah, I'm saying I'm calling names. I don't care. That's what I do. Why do I have to hide how I feel after what I've had to go through? I will not shut up for them, ever. It's only going to get worse. Or better.
I think you'll get the channel back, Rich, but
whether I do or not.
Your backup channel, which I've just dropped again in the chat, guys, go check it out. Is doing well.
Well, we got to 1,000 subs exactly in a week, so we'll be back. Just like we'll be monetized in a week. That's already have 4,000 watch hours as of now. So we're ready to go on GUFON Lives. We're already there. We're already going. They didn't silence me. They just empowered me. Now I am on a different level of what I need to do. I can't find the words today for lack of brain cell power. But yeah, they did it, and I'm not going to stop. And neither are they.
Do you think the Who's Lue documentary and the chats that you have about Lue, Rich, is going to spur other channels on in a different direction to what they have been? Have you seen a change from anybody?
What do you mean?
So, have you seen a change since the Who's Lue documentary and some of the stuff that you've done, some of the commentary after Rich, talking about the aftermath of it? Have you seen any channel's opinion change of Lue Elizondo that may have been positive to a negative?
I don't watch a lot of other shows, so the only thing I can say is from what I hear, it seems like some people have changed, but it wasn't a hit piece or anything. It was just bringing up questions that people never asked. Manny, I think you wanted to say something about that.
Yeah, Ollie, I did want to speak about that because I have seen the conversation shift in the last few weeks since this film came out. You're seeing a lot more people calling out the bullying and the echo chamber. You're seeing a lot more people speaking out against this retaliation tactics and things like that. And it's a lot more people who were either on the fence or were not so hip to call out things are now being more vocal about it, from small people to big people. I'm not just talking about content creators, but people who are simply, Twitter people who follow ufology on Twitter. A lot more of them are coming out too. So it has changed the conversation, and it has changed the way things are viewed. And this is an important forum to do it on because this forum is so important to Lue, Twitter and YouTube respectively. So I think, just to answer your question briefly, yeah, I do think it has changed for the positive, because people are looking at the other side now. Even if they don't agree with everything that I said in my movie or that people have been saying, they're at least asking those questions and saying, we need to get to the bottom of some of this.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is the thing, and what people don't seem to realize, no matter what side you're on, I don't even pick a side with this. I don't understand the picking sides when it comes to somebody who doesn't have a channel. Let alone, I mean, even if you have a channel, but we pick sides. But when it comes to the subscribers that are constantly like, you shouldn't say this is bad mouthing, blah 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 blah. Do you not want to know who these people are? Do you not want to know who's talking about your subject? Who's possibly going to deliver disclosure to you? Why would you not want to hear the negatives? I don't get that. It's beyond me, because that's almost like you're brainwashed. So let's talk about bands for a second. So not Blink-182, but any band, a band that you're into as a kid, you may find something out about that band member that's disgusting, that's terrible. But you really like that band. You don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear what that band member may have done. That's what it's like.
Well,
that's what these people are like.
It depends if it's the singer or the drummer.
I agree.
I did want to go there.
I agree. Oh man. Yeah, it is an interesting point, because we've seen that with band members. I don't want to, smear anybody's name, but we'll say Michael Jackson. Something might have happened around that celebrity where things were the same way. And then more recently with Corey Feldman and Charlie Sheen, there was a huge thing that came out in the media about, what had happened and things like that. And people were very hard. And I watched what happened to Corey Feldman during that for speaking his mind, and he took damage. I was one of the people who supported him on Twitter. I was like, dude, go tell your story, man. You rock. I went and got his movie because I wanted to hear what he had to say, and that's kind of, I see a lot of similarities to what is going on here, but it's not just, it's all media. Everything does this. It's all a media, man. They do this to us about politics. They do this to us about religion. They divide us, and then they get us to fight amongst each other instead of grouping up and turning against them. It's just the same old story that it's been since I was a kid. It's just got a different face on it and a different venue now. It's ufology. Oh, Third Phase is here.
Yeah,
what's up, guys?
I always send them an invite recent last couple of shows because I would like to know their take on this, what's happened, because they've been accused of taking sides with Greer over this, and it's Greer that's in their ear, so to speak, which I don't think it is. I think these boys don't. They think like you, Manny. They don't trust this guy. Yeah, and that's probably more from Rich and not Greer. No, they've got their own minds. They do have their own minds. It's beyond me why anybody wouldn't want to hear the other side of the story. I've never got that when it comes to anything. Never mind ufology. I don't get it. I don't get why anybody wouldn't want to hear that other side. Because these are people who you're supporting. These are people that you're putting your time into, you're listening to. So listen to the negatives. And that goes for anything in life. Because if you don't, you may be onto a bad horse.
Well, the thing is, the negatives haven't been really bad, like not career ending, I think.
No.
And they may find this as nitpicking, or you're just looking for something that isn't there. All Manny did was just release facts. I mean, I think you had one or two mistakes in there about a location, but it had nothing to do with his character or his past doings and business ventures. So, yeah, I think, if we found out Lou was, human trafficker, I mean, that would be a little bit different. So,
right.
Or drug smuggler or something like that, But we didn't.
Right.
You didn't find it.
No,
without releasing any spoilers, there's nothing in there that is, the guy's squeaky-ish.
Actually, you see, I disagree, and that's why I think he's overreacting the way it is. I think there's more in here than people think, and I think that I'm going to have to show it to some high-level government investigators to see if they see the same things that I see or not, which I'm in the process of doing as well.
Wait, what are you talking about? Something that isn't in the movie?
No, I'm talking about everything that's in the movie. Everything that's in the movie.
I mean, we could
look at just the 2016 to 2017 is the most incredible and strong piece. The house in West Virginia, the move to Encinitas, and all of those things. And a lot of people don't understand why that's important or why that indicates criminal actions. But it's a huge, huge indication of criminal actions. Because, again, there's no logical way that those pieces of footage could have gotten from the Pentagon into Mellon's hands if all the players involved hadn't done what they'd done. It shows a conspiracy, which is a criminal act. RICO's also one. Another ongoing criminal conspiracy that you profit from is a RICO Act violation. So you've got different levels of criminal actions that need to be looked at here that might have been, and all of this is my point. I'm a civilian investigator, which means I have access to the stuff that you saw in my film. That's it. I don't have subpoena power. I can't go pull IRS records. I can't just dip into a government database or things like that. There's improper actions here. There's enough indication that something was improper that a legitimate government investigator has to pull those files and records to determine whether there was or not. It's called probable cause. There's more than enough probable cause in the public records to show that there was something that happened here. Now I want to know who's supposed to investigate it and why they are not.
Boys, welcome.
What's up, Ollie? How you doing, Alien Addict?
I'm good, mate. How are you doing, boys?
We're doing good. Congratulations, Manny, getting your documentary back up on the platform.
Thank you.
I don't understand. There's been a lot of, how long we've been around on YouTube? Over a decade plus, going on maybe 13 years now. I don't know how many YouTube channels have been talking shit about Third Phase Moon all these years. Have we once gone and copyrighted anybody about having their own opinion? This is like going
Well,
across.
I think my channel will be gone.
Oh, yeah. Your channel would have been gone a long time ago, Helene Attic. So would have Rich's. So would have UFO Proofs. So would have everybody. We're not these kind of guys that are copy strike happy to try and silence the critics. This is cancel culture. It's crazy that UFO Twitter is actually deleting posts that we put up that we received from the public. What are they afraid of? That we received the information and, oh my God, Third Phase Moon's got another breaking news report on UFO and they want to take it down? They're actually patting each other on the back over there at UFO Twitter, saying, thank you, UFO Twitter, for not talking about Third Phase of Moon and what they put out. This, to me, is a conspiracy in massive proportions to silence people that have their own views and opinions on things. And, as all you guys know at Third Phase of Moon, we're not these guys that start calling these guys out. We want to kind of remain neutral in this field. We're just here presenting the UFO evidence as it comes in on a daily basis. But behind the scenes, I guess we can say that what we're seeing going on with Richard getting 7 copyright strikes from a major channel like Dolan, among another person, is just kind of crazy. And how TTSA, another major corporation, is going after this small channel known as Area 503, and they're afraid of something. This says a lot about these guys' characters. If we went around copyright striking people using our content, there would be no UFO channels that exist on YouTube. But we don't do that. We don't play these games. Why not just let people speak their mind? Hey, if there's a truce, you want to discuss it. I know we've invited Lue Elizondo on the show, Third Phase of Moon, for the past couple of years. We've spoke with Lue's manager personally. We met up with him in Los Angeles. Had a really good time, had some beers with the manager, told him, hey, look, Lue should come on Third Phase of Moon. We're going to ask questions that nobody really asked out there. And let's do it. We're gentlemen here. We're adults. What are you afraid of? Why is Lue going on these shows after Manny puts out his documentary on this obscure YouTube channel and starts calling out and telling these people? I don't think I heard it from Lue's mouth saying, go get these guys, go get these guys. But immediately once he got off the interview with this obscure YouTube channel, these guys started saying, we're going to get them. We're going to shut them down. What is this all about? You would have thought that Lue would have told them, hey, look, there's 2 sides of the story. And guess what? Maybe I am going to go on Area 503 to discuss some of the things that he spoke about. But instead, Lue says, give me 2 months and I'm going to explain my side of things. Why wait 2 months?
So
why
his book
just
can
do
get
it in
published?
2 minutes?
Or that he wants to take us out behind the barn and teach us a lesson.
And then he's throwing out these accusations, or talking like a tough guy, saying he wants to take these guys behind the barn and teach them some lessons, and saying that Dr. Greer is a terrorist, among many other things.
And a crybaby.
And he says, and again, Third Phase of Moon's not the one calling these names out. We're just presenting what these guys are saying. We don't have any opinions one way or the other, except that this looks kind of in a way that they're afraid, in my opinion, to have a discussion. They only have their own point of view, and they're only going to speak to people that agree with them. And what's wrong with going on? Hey, look, we went on your channel, Ollie. We've had our differences. We went on Rich's show. We had our differences. We asked the questions. Everybody could ask whatever they wanted. What's going on here? Why can't they do the same? Is what is amazing to me. You would think that they would come forward and say, hey, let's hash it out. Let's have a discussion, and let's address these statements that Who's Lue made. But it seems that he doesn't want to address it because maybe he's got to prepare himself for 2 months to make up something, or come up with this story that how he's going to go against this Who's Lue documentary, and it's going to take him 2 months to figure it out. I guess there's so much ammo in there. He doesn't he's got to prepare. But if there's nothing to be afraid of, then you shouldn't have to prepare for anything. You should just be ready right then and there.
The truth that you don't have to think of shit for. You don't have to remember stuff when it's the truth.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I mean? You don't...
The truth has nothing to fear. Go ahead, Rich. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to remember lies than it is the truth, is what I was trying to say. So maybe that's it. Or maybe it's just about clicks and views, and I'll come back in 2 months and we'll build up the drama a little more. You know, who knows? Or that's when his book is coming out in April.
Well, here's a little self-plug and a little promotion on Third Phase of Moon's part. But hey, that's what you got to get the word out. So let's tell you what's coming up here real soon in regards to our above top secret, the technology behind disclosure. When we met up with Dr. Stephen Greer, we asked Greer about the statements that Lue said to him in regards to calling him a terrorist. And what Greer says is actually quite interesting and profound, and also diplomatic in a way as well. And he doesn't get it down in the gutter like some of these other guys are doing, making these statements of grandeur, actually calling people a terrorist in our own country from a military official or ex-military official. What kind of language is this? It's very dangerous. It's actually, if you call somebody a terrorist and you're an ex-government official, don't you have to prove that? This is almost liable, in my opinion, without evidence. Terrorism is a serious thing. What has Greer done that shows anything of being a terrorist? I have not seen any of that. You know, Dr. Greer, he's an interesting character. We're not taking sides either. Everybody thinks, oh, Greer's telling us what to do. Greer's not telling us anything. We have our own minds here at Third Phase of Moon. And all I know is that Greer has been in this for a long time, 22 years now publicly. And sometimes he says things that are, you know, it's interesting. The CE5, this communication, you know, that's Greer's thought process. What are you going to do? Is that terrorism in America here? Why would he say this? Why would Lue say that to him?
I think it was just a smear campaign, guys, and they're used to throwing that terrorist card out there and just getting people to just grab their pitchforks and their torches and go to fight. You know, like, it's really silly. Anyone who follows Dr. Greer knows he's not a terrorist. Anyone who even knows who he is should know that. But, you know, he could have called him a lot of things, but terrorist?
He's also saying, so, which is kind of crazy as well, not only terrorism, he compares Dr. Greer to the Heaven's Gate cult, and Jim Jones. So anybody that follows Greer is going to go under a mass suicide. He's saying that Greer is the equivalent of Jim Jones and Heaven's Gate. This is like crazy to suggest that he's a terrorist, and he's also going to tell all his followers to go kill themselves. Are you kidding me?
Which is it? Is he a cult leader or a terrorist? It sounds like just more defamation, a character assassination. Yeah, it's pretty typical.
A cult leader is one thing, but a cult leader to say, everybody go do a mass suicide, now that's something else altogether. This is about as low as things get. And it sounds like desperation. Mm-hmm. And it's very dangerous, some of this language. And I think everybody should just stand down on this kind of language. But I agree with Rich that, you know, when people speak your name and they're talking trash about you, you have to stand up for yourself. We've stood down on our language, and I know Rich has. We've asked Rich, just stand down, let it go, let it go. Let these guys kill them with kindness. But when these guys keep talking and bringing up your names, there's no other way except to defend yourself. You can't let them roll over you.
Especially when they tell you, don't speak my name again. And then they do it, the very next day or month or whatever. Like I wasn't going to hear about it. And it
It's
also,
a small community. Nobody
I
could,
know,
like,
yeah.
it's a small community. And I know Manny's wasn't calling anybody any names in the documentary. It wasn't really a hit piece. He was just doing a lot of research and sharing what he found. He wasn't calling anybody any names. But recently, we've been called clowns. We've been called whack jobs. We've been called this and that. Like, do you really want us to go publicly with what we know behind the scenes and share it on Third Phase of Moon? Because let me tell you, we've been in this for a long time. We got information that'll blow people away and take people down. But do we bring it up? No, because it's not necessary. But these guys everybody should just stand down a little bit, chill out with this language and rhetoric, and let people do what they do. And grow some thick skin, people, because
if you're going to be on the internet, you need that thick skin.
It takes thick skin in this field. And if you're going to throw it, if you're going to dish it out, get ready to get the ramifications of it as well. And if you can't, walk the walk and talk the talk, split.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
What's weird? Go ahead.
I was just going to say, did you boys happen to catch Kyle's live stream? He did mention something that involves kind of all of us. Like he thinks that Greer may be putting these words into our mouths.
We actually talked right after we watched UFO Proof statements last night, and we got on the phone with UFO Proof immediately last night and had some discussions, because we're good friends with Kyle, and we do have our disagreements, but he wasn't aware what was been going on over the past couple weeks. He wasn't aware that there's opposition striking channels and debilitating a channel of their livelihood. What happened to GUFON?
Yeah, he was very surprised.
He wasn't aware of this Who's Lue documentary, because UFO Proof loves Lue and TTSA. And he wasn't aware that TTSA went after this small channel known as Area 503 to shut down his opinion. He was kind of shocked, as a matter of fact, that Richard Dolan went after GUFON, these big channels. He's aware that we could have shut UFO Proof down years ago for doing what he's done on his channel. And he does not agree one single bit of these tactics. So we told UFO Proof that Manny and GUFON should go on his show. Maybe we could arrange that. I think Manny should go on UFO Proof's show explaining them of what happened to him. All I know is UFO Proof does not agree with the copyright strike action that's going on. And again, Dr. Greer is not telling us what to do by any means. We're on our own separate entities, but definitely we're collaborating. Dr. Greer's got a lot of connections in this field. He's been around the block. So at least Greer's talking to us, right? Lou, why don't you talk to us?
Do you guys think that I'm going to go by what Greer says? I'm going to do what I want to do. I mean, that's just silly talk. And that's what they do. They talk silly, and they cross over a line, a boundary I would never think of crossing. Doxing people, striking their channel, making Nazi and pedophile memes. I mean, it's just bizarre hate. And they say, we need to come together. It's the opposite you're doing.
We've tried to bring them
For
together.
sure.
We just don't like. Together. Right? You guys try to do that with everybody.
Yes, we did. We reached out to Lue Elizondo. We reached out to Nick Pope. We reached out to Corbell. We reached out to Leslie Kane. We reached out to Sheehan. All of them declined the debate, and they could have all teamed up against Greer. And Greer wasn't afraid. And what Greer told us after they all backed down, that they're afraid he would have cleaned their clocks. And, Greer's ready for these guys. And if they're so confident that Greer is as bad as they say they are, why don't they just go out there and debate them? Because they know Greer has info that will destroy them, in my opinion. So they're afraid of it. They're afraid of the confrontation, and they're afraid of little guys with small channels, and they'll go out of their way to take the small guy down. And this is the most ridiculous cancel culture thing I've ever seen by the UFO Twitter, at UFO Twitter thing that I've ever seen. And these talking heads are, I don't know, they're just really thin skin, and it's turning the UFO community into wokeness. Why is UFOs becoming woke all of a sudden? UFOs has nothing to do politically, but now they're making it political, and it is very bizarro.
What if that's the plan all along, Blake? That's what's supposed to happen.
What? I know what you're saying, but to become woke?
Yeah. What if this divide that we're seeing, this is the plan?
The politics is, in my opinion, has always been in ufology. Always.
It's never been, I've never seen it like this, Rich. This bad.
You're just living through it. It's been like this before. I just don't know when.
Blake, boys, Blake
it's
and
bad.
Ben,
It's bad.
Do you remember has it ever been this bad?
It's bad.
Well, there was the Podesta, Hillary Clinton. There was kind of a political bias.
Is he breaking up?
It's beyond anything now, because at UFO Twitter has become its own entity, and they're pushing it forward. And so all I know is I don't know why it's becoming so woke, and it's exactly what's going on in the Hollywood culture, and they're shoving down this wokeness in Hollywood and the major media, and now it's coming into this UFO field, which it has no business being there. UFOs have nothing to do with.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up there, Chief.
Agendas.
Your phone's cutting out,
It's just
brother.
a phenomenon. We're trying to figure it out on it, and people get really pissed off about it. I don't understand the theory behind this. We ask questions. We invite people on the platform. Let's figure it out. We had Avi Loeb on the other day. He's saying that the government can't keep a secret. They're inept at keeping secrets. Well, I think he's wrong. They know how to keep secrets. And so do private corporations. They know how to keep secrets. He doesn't understand national security, that if they do capture a UFO on their lenses, that they're going to release it to the public and everything's going to be okay.
Right.
Not everything's going to be okay. They're not going to be able to release their UFO clear shot if they find it to the public the next day. They're going to have to go through security clearances, national security. And if it's too hot to handle, they're going to shut it down. And Avi doesn't even realize that. So we're here dealing with the public, taking in the information raw from the public, and we got to deal with it. The public's tricky when you deal with the public. You're going to get all walks of life in this dealing with it. And I think that's where the disclosure is going to be happening. I think we've already brought up enough awareness, being that how many millions have we been seeing on Third Phase Moon? 350 million times. This blows away anything at UFO Twitter. They're afraid that we ask questions. They're afraid that we have panel members that speak their own minds. And they're afraid that there's people like Manny, independent journalists, that want to go in and find out for themselves. And they present what they find, and they try and shut it down. Well, they lost, and they lost big time. And it's a great thing that documentary's up, whether you agree with it or not. Let's not cancel each other out. Everybody grow up.
But let me ask you this,
these guys need to grow up and quit being little schoolyard children. Saying,
don't you
we're
think
take you behind the cafeteria? Let's go, guys.
Don't you think they think this
a sad thing? But
is this broken?
Hopefully they.
Is my microphone on?
We've seen it before. Maybe they will come around.
I can hear
it. Take our questions. Come on, Lou. Come on, Third Phase of Moon. We're not gonna talk and down on you. We just got some simple questions for you that people aren't asking. And if you can't answer it, well, that's fine with us, because I'm pretty sure that's a problem, because if we did get Lou on our channel, he wouldn't be able to answer any of our questions. So it'd go nowhere. It's going around us in a circle of nowhereness. And that's a problem too. Lue should have never come out publicly. He should have stayed quiet, because all he's done is let everybody be aware that he's here and he's here to stay, but he doesn't bring anything to the table. It's like a broken record with no new evidence. So if you don't have anything new to say, go home. Just go home. Unless you got something new, let's hear it. But if you don't got anything new, go home, Lue. Just go home. And it's nothing personal against Lue at all. Did you hear me say anything bad about Lue? Did I say anything bad about Lue?
No, you just told him to go home. Which one? Which home, though?
Which home? I love it. I don't think Third Phase can hear us, guys. Can you hear us?
I don't know. I can't hear you guys, but I think we lost connection. But
there we go. That's why.
Anything bad about Lue, except that if you don't got anything new to say, go home. That's not attacking. That's just we just want new information. We don't want information that goes to nowhere, because that's a big waste of time. And those videos that he came out with and leaked, those were a big waste of time as well. Hey guys, I got to get some lunch. Good talking to you. You guys be safe. Thanks, Alien Addict. Thanks, Rich.
Thanks for coming by.
See you later, boys. They can't hear us say.
The old "I can't hear them" trick, huh? That was good. I wanted to counter. I wanted to say opposite of what I think they were saying. Don't you think these people who go against us, they feel just as passionately as we do, or do you think they're just doing it for something else than the passion for the field? Because I know that they're not offering to talk to us. We're offering to talk to them. They deny, they ignore. Isn't that interesting?
Rich, quickly, that's what I meant earlier on. I think some of these guys, they know that there's a truth there to what you guys are saying. I don't say much. I just interview you guys. But they know there's a truth to it, but they don't want to hear it. So they're scared of that truth. It's like somebody saying your girlfriend's been cheating on you, and you still take her out for a meal. Been doing anything this evening, Don? No, nothing much. No, okay. But that's the thing. They're ignorant to it. That's what it seems like to me from an outside that looks in at this. It seems like they don't want to know. But on the other hand, I think there's the people that have all the faith in the world that this will be. This guy will deliver. He'll actually deliver disclosure.
Yeah.
He's the disclosure guy.
You're right. Why is that? Because he looks like it? I mean,
he's paid handsomely for that image, and he's been building it up for years. You realize when he came out with TTSA that he didn't give a crap about disclosure. The word never came out of his mouth. It wasn't until he left that platform and came over to Twitter and started to twist the disclosure movement into this defense industry movement that he started to care about all that. And that's when the things shifted at the end of 2020, blah, 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 like all that time frame. So, it really wasn't about disclosure. And I say it all the time. His version of disclosure is neutered. It ain't got no balls, and it doesn't. If we want the full disclosure, that's going to include the truth about what we've been lied to over the years, and not just a declassification of propulsion and weapons technology, or a UFO office or whatever. That doesn't help disclosure at all. That helps his employers get money.
But do you boys think that he has anything to do with the government cover-up?
And man, anything's possible if he worked in the Pentagon, if ATIP did, what he said they were doing. Yeah, I guess there is a percentage. I don't know, very small percentage.
I'll tell you what, guys, through the course of this project, I've run and believed every single possible scenario about Lue, from a CIA defense industry collusion type of thing similar to the Aurora fraud, or just straight up CIA, or maybe even foreign intelligence services as well. I've run them all, and eventually I had to shake certain scenarios out. If he was part of some big legitimate, let's just say CIA operation, I don't think there would have been any way I could have found what I found on him in my documentary. I think, like Ollie, you were saying, he would have had a impeccably clean record, which he does not. His record was impeccably clean until he left the Pentagon, but then on paper, that's when things start to really change quite a bit, is in the 2018 time frame, when he starts to get a bunch of money and things like that. So I at the end of the day, I don't believe that he is, because I think that if this was a matter of national security and that he wasn't in a legitimate operation, they would have contacted me in some way to shut me down. They wouldn't let me make my film, but maybe not. I mean, maybe they couldn't do anything about it. So you can't rule it out. I just think the likelihood's very small. I think it's more likely that he's part of an illegitimate operation that mirrors an actual operation, and that's why everyone is confusing the two, because it has all the markers of it. It's all the same moves. It's just benefiting a different group of people.
And Alien Addict, I got to get going, my man.
No, we've been going for 2 hours, boys. So
Yeah. Well, I need to, because I got my show coming up at 9 o'clock at GUFON Lives. We're going to talk about haunted stuff, so you can join the show and give me your stories.
GUFON Lives there is going to put it in the stream, Rich.
Say what?
Again. I've put it in a few times tonight.
We hit 1,000 subs tonight on your show at 5:55 p.m. Eastern. Congratulations, me.
All right. Congrats, Rich.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. It's all because of you. You guys are the fans. I had nothing to do with it.
What's
it's
the show
true.
about?
I had nothing to do with it. I can't sub 1,000 times, or can I?
No.
Well,
All these emails, it's hard. That's what I'm being accused of, just so you know.
what's it about?
What's that?
The show.
Oh. Well, it's about ghost stories. I want people to call in if they've had a legitimate ghost story, and I'm going to tell what's going on in my house.
With
I
a
think
spoon.
I'm going crazy. It's very possible I've been possessed and abducted, all in the same night.
By the spoon.
By the spoon. As a matter of fact, the spoon's missing. It was right here a minute ago. No, it wasn't. I was just kidding. Yeah, this is one of his friends, though. This is Tinny. Yeah, Tinny's not one of those spoons.
That's not the spoon. I know it's
No, that's an imitator.
I've seen that spoon.
This is like a Fessler. We call that the Fessler.
Well,
Anywho, that's what's going on tonight. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6%. So what am I saying? 6 Pacific.
thanks for joining
I
us,
can't
Rich.
read while I do this at the same time. Yeah, it'll be tonight. It's going to be horrible, so don't show up. Please don't
Not to hell with
show.
that. I'll be there.
No, seriously, nobody show. I'm telling you, it's going to be awful.
Can you imagine doing a show and you
I
look-
can't speak today. What's wrong with me? I feel like I'm rushing. Rushing.
You just need to change that shirt.
I know, it's the spacesuit.
It's pulling all your power right out. Sucking
You know
you
what?
right out like
It
venom.
looks like, yeah, it is. It's weakening me. It looks like a trash bag.
No, I like it. It looks like it does look like you're about to go into space.
If you saw this in person, I think you would enjoy it. And I'm pointing at the shirt, not me. Nobody would enjoy this.
It's with the hat as well, with the like the rocket on it.
Oh, I thought you were saying my conical shape. Like Bigfoot. Hello, is this thing on?
Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on tonight. Don't show up. It'll suck. GUFON lives.
Yeah, we'll be there.
I hate it.
It's in the. There you go. Popped it in there again for you.
Oh, why? Don't even come. You won't like it at all.
Make another account, guys. Make 3. Let's get rich. Let's get Rich's numbers up.
No, they're fine. They're fine. Don't.
I'm kidding.
Oh, okay. That was actually good.
No,
Good joke.
It wasn't funny.
I thought it was. That's why I laughed. Now it's not funny. Now I'm not laughing. All right.
You didn't laugh.
I chuckled.
You told me it was funny, but you didn't laugh.
Because it's not real funny.
No, I know it's not.
Yeah.
Wasn't meant to be.
Trying to be a good guess. I mean, come on. Just trying to help you out, Ollie.
That's all.
Go watch Richie's show tonight.
No,
people.
don't.
Ghosts. What you need to do, Rich, while you're doing the show, if it's about ghosts, is get one of them potter's wheels and mold the.
Oh, shut up! That would be awesome. And I would blow vape into it, and it would catch it.
Just see this thing flying around.
It would be the great pareidolia of the night.
Well,
We
boys,
would- Oh, sorry.
no, I'm trying to finish your show here.
Yeah,
Rich.
yeah, I know. Shh.
So what were you going to say about the pareidolia? I'm interested now.
I have no idea. Paranoia. I like paranoia.
Manny, the man of the hour. It is back up. Who's Lou? Is back up on YouTube.
Who's Lou?
It is in the descriptions below. I think it's the first link above the rest of the links. So go check it out, people. Even if you've watched it already, watch it again. Let's get them numbers up because it has had a bit of damage done to it, because from 4,000 views in 2 days to being taken down. I know what happens when a video gets taken down. It does extreme damage to the views when it goes back up, because it screws with the algorithm. So go thumb it up and send it out to other people. Tweet it out. Hashtag UFO Twitter.
500 times a day, folks. 500 times a day. Put that one on UFO Twitter.
Yeah, it's a great job, mate. You've done some good work there, and hopefully you'll get to speak to the man himself. He'll chase you up, and he won't send you a list of questions you're not allowed to ask him.
Yeah, they're all in the film. If you watched my movie, you'd know which questions I want to ask. They're right in there, and I make them pretty obvious. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. Thanks, Ollie. I appreciate your support, Rich. As always, your support from day one, dude.
And you too, man. If it wasn't for Manny, I don't even know if I would have got those claims put through the right way. Spent a lot of time with me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure.
It's bad. It's bad that you have to teach me something so horrible.
Here's to having GUFON back as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, we'll see. But GUFON lives. It's on its way.
That might become the new channel.
I think it is. It will be for the next 2 weeks. So, yeah, be kind of cool, man, if we can stay on this pace. I'll be doing shorts starting tomorrow. Those short videos, they tell you got to do them. That's where all the popularity is right now.
I did a couple of them when I was ill, poorly.
Oh, yeah, that's right. See, and I thought those were good. Yeah, I liked it.
What, me saying that I'm...
Are you dying?
Yeah. Full of...
Good stuff.
Because it was interesting. Seeing you so vulnerable in that position.
It was real.
Put yourself out there, yeah.
It was real, yeah. And that's why I think a lot of, the three people on the screen right here have in common is just keeping it real. Rich, you keep it real. Ollie, you keep it real. And I definitely keep it real. And some people just can't hack that. They don't like real. They like the opposite, fake.
I did want to say that, Manny. Well, I wanted to, for anybody who's watching this that still may think, Manny's a bastard and Rich is just a dick. What they don't realize watching you guys over the years is you can change your opinion on people, because at one point you may think this is fantastic, and then you'll see the cracks, and then you'll speak your mind. So you might be bought into something, but as soon as you can smell that rat dying in the kitchen, you tell people that this shit needs cleaning up.
Yeah, it's only proper.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the problem. Not just in ufology, in life. People don't like it when somebody changes their opinion, or they will actually see one side and they won't realize that this person has actually thought completely different before and changed their mindset. But if you actually take the time and watch Manny's documentary, you might think differently and think, I need to look into this a little bit further, before you actually invest some real money. But I hope his book does well. I won't read it because I'm dyslexic.
I think it's an intelligent person that continuously looks at all information on a subject and is constantly changing their mind on it based on the most current information. I mean, how else can you get to know something in a subject if you're just going to make your fire from the hip and stick to your guns about your first initial assessment, regardless of what evidence comes in down the pipe? That is just, you got your blinders on and you're just seeing what you want to see, if that's the case. And that's not at all critical thinking. Quite the opposite.
All right.
All right, boys.
See you
Thank
later.
you very much. Good night. God bless. Mind the bugs don't bite.
Thanks, Ollie.
Like, share, subscribe, all that jazz.
See you,
and hit
Manny.
that bell.
See you, Rich.
Good night, everybody.
Check out the links below, people.